introduce to you the man of the hour, Tony.
Hello and welcome to At the Gates. I am Tony, your host, and I'm outside of Gate 34 at Target Field. The date, August 28th, 2015. The competitors are the Minnesota Twins, who host the Houston Astros. Today's guests are
Mateo Fisher.
Paul Com.
Oh, that guy named Doppler.
And, like I said, we are hanging out at Target Field. Before we get into the podcast, as this is the inaugural episode, let me give you a quick overview of what to expect. Every episode will be recorded at the gates, hence the name.
That makes sense now.
The stadium will be more often than not Target Field, but as I want to see every stadium, the venue can change. I will tweet out which games I am going to. Look at the podcast, or at the Gates podcast on Twitter, and anyone else who is going to that game is free to be a guest. We'll discuss things that most fans discuss when arriving early to a game. How's the team looking, the latest news in the MLB, playoff pictures, and prospect talks. And lastly, because I like to snake baseballs and there is a sizable community, as you can tell by the guests today, I want to talk about that which is relevant to ball hawks. And we will talk about the baseball itself. So if you want to join me, read more, or just want to know where to get more At the Gates info, check the following. Like I said, the symbol at the Gates podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Go to ploofsnewhairdo.mlblogs.com and keywords At the Gates on iTunes. With that said, let's go on with the show.
So, before we get started, before we go into topics themselves, Paul Com and I thought about it a little before we got on the air, but Paul brought it up. Today, August 28th, 2015, is exactly 3 years from when Paul, myself, and Tony met for the first time at these gates in Target Field. Yeah, to the half hour. So, we actually met August 28th, 2012 for a Twins-Mariners game, where I believe, Paul, you got a foul ball, correct? 6 and a foul ball, or was it?
7 with a foul ball.
7, so 8 total?
7.
So he got, 7. That's what I was saying, like 6 and then a foul ball on top of that. So I thought that was just kind of cool, and now I will pass it back to your host, Tony Voda.
That is coincidence. I didn't even think of that. So let's talk about the playoff picture. Some of the surprise teams being teams that play tonight, the Twins and the Houston Astros. I don't think anyone really expected them to either be in the race or at least at the top of the division. Anyone else have any ideas? I'll pass it to Mateo. Maybe discuss a couple teams that you think are surprises and a couple teams that you thought would be higher up in the rankings right now.
Yeah, so for me, I did see the Astros coming in, just because they have been horrible, but I've been tracking their minor league stuff, just being at conferences where people are really fans of the Astros, and the freedom that, it's ironic, but the freedom that losing gave them in trying to sign players and really restructure their farm system. The Twins, however, being my favorite team, I had no clue they were going to be in the race this late. I legitimately had no clue they were going to do anything. But I would say the Rangers are a team that I didn't see being in it, whereas the Mariners I did see being in it, and so that's just kind of a surprising thing out of the West. I'll pass it off to Paul for your thoughts.
Well, Mateo covered a lot of what I was going to bring up, but looking through the standings the last couple days, I was surprised that the Yankees are still holding on with Toronto. I was shocked at the trade deadline when Toronto picked up so many key players like Tulowitzki, and they just ran away with the show, but I'm surprised that they aren't further ahead of the Yankees.
Okay, I honestly have no clue what to do here. Right here?
Yep.
So this is Nate Dublin.
Well, I'm not that smart when it comes to all this, like, standings and stuff, but the Twins are doing a lot better than I expected this year. Like, I didn't actually think they were going to, like, have this much of a chance, but I don't think they're going to make it all the way, but they're pretty good this year. And I have no clue what to do here, so. Alex Damer's here.
Cool. The next topic that I wanted to discuss, it's not really a pass around or really up for much debate. It's more of a congratulations. Wanted to toss this one out to David Denson. He is the first openly gay baseball player at any professional level, minor league or major league, and that is Mateo clapping in the background. Just kind of cool that this is finally happening. He plays for the Milwaukee Brewers affiliate at the single A level, is a first baseman and 20 years old. So be on the lookout for that name in maybe a few years. All right, and I wanted to take a look at within our division right now, our division being the Twins, and talk really about someone who's kind of on fire and playing for a team that isn't on fire, and that is Chris Sale. Is he superhuman? Not really. Especially when it comes to playing against the Twins. He is 1-3 this year, but he's 11-4 against the rest of the group. He has, I think he's right now in 4th or 5th place overall for the Chicago White Sox for all-time strikeouts in a year. And just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what you have seen out of Sale. I know it's been kind of limited because we've seen him get shelled here, but we'll start again.
Yeah, so also just one clarification on Denson. He's the first openly gay active player. Players have done so after their careers have ended. I believe 2 have done it, Billy Beane being the one that I can think of. But I believe different Billy Beane. But with Chris Sale, it's kind of odd because he does get destroyed by the Twins, who are not really, I mean, again, I don't view the Twins of 2015 or around then as being a great team. But Chris Sale, it's just amazing to see what he does. And because he especially came up pretty much as a lefty specialist in my mind anyway, with the fastball and slider, he kind of, honestly, I thought he was going to be what Aroldis Chapman has become, because he came up as a closer, but it's been amazing to see him do it on a day-in-out basis. But again, 1-3 versus the Twins, a 6.46 ERA. This is in 2015, and so it's just odd to see him do as well as he does versus the rest of the league. Paul.
Well, I don't know exactly where I want to go with this, but I think as long as Chris Sale wants to keep doing well, I think he needs to just be consistent with his outings and make him. Thank you, Mateo. But he needs to make sure he can go deep into the game, because when those close games come, he doesn't want to give up the game to the bullpen, which has happened quite a few times already this year. I just checked the stat on that, and the numbers are actually kind of high. Now let's pass it on to Nate here.
We might not want to pass it on to Nate. Like I said, don't really follow all of this stuff at all. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
I still like baseball though.
He likes the baseball.
I enjoy baseball.
We all enjoy the baseball. So, just wanted to quickly talk about some of the Twins rookie pipeline, excluding the big names like Buxton and Sano. We have Jose J.O. Barrios at the AAA, and he's looking really, really good. He's still continuing to pitch really nicely down there. Still, according to Baseball Prospectus, he's still slated to come up this year. He's only 21 years old, so don't expect a lot out of him, just getting his feet wet. So hopefully a September call-up that starts to maybe get a little bit of traction, get a feel for the majors. And some of the other guys, another couple shortstops, Jorge Polanco, who's at AAA. He's seen a little bit of time up here. And Nick Gordon at Single A. Nick Gordon isn't expected to come up until 2018, but he'll only be a 22-year-old. Max Kepler, who is on fire again, AA, scheduled to come up in 2017 as a 24-year-old. And lastly, kind of a raw prospect known for a lot of power and a lot of RBI potential is Adam Brett Walker II. He's at AA, scheduled for 2017, which would make him 25 years old. But he has a lot of pop. And anyone else want to chime in on any of these prospects?
So I'd say not necessarily to talk about the prospects themselves, but the idea that we will, I mean, at least Jose Barrios, we will probably see him in September. And the important thing as a Twins fan to think about is not to expect a playoff push from him. Don't expect him to be a person that makes it into or helps the Twins get into the playoffs. That is ideal. But the important part about the September call-ups is just so you can have the prospects get their feet wet and basically have them do what Aaron Hicks did in April when he came up, but do it in a season in its own so they can then have that experience, know what it's like to struggle at the major league level, work on those things that major league players will pick them apart at in the minors the year after or that winter after, and then just set themselves up for success in the future, like going forward.
And I think it's special to note that they basically did the same thing with Johan Santana, who developed very nicely, at least when he was with us and when he wasn't injured. I'm not saying expect Cy Young awards out of this guy, but I mean, Johan came up in September, came out of the bullpen for a little bit, got his feet wet, and you'll probably see the same thing out of Barrios. Now let's talk about the baseball itself. I think Nate will have a little bit more to share on this. But I think we're all here today chasing one goal, and that is the Houston Commemorative. It's the third year in a row that they've had a 50th anniversary special ball, and just want to get everyone's take on commemoratives just in general. What do you like? What do you dislike? And is that your goal for today?
Yeah, so with Houston, they have had a commemorative every year since I've been here at Target Field. And this is the first year, actually, though, that they've brought it on the road. So that's exciting. But for myself personally, commemoratives as a ball hawk are a nice thing to chase after, but I don't really vest myself in the pursuit of commemoratives just because they're so arbitrary in nature. I will get commemoratives at games where the team whose commemorative it is not involved, and neither of the teams have played them for 3 weeks. So it just I gave up on commemoratives a while ago when there was a year with 6 commemoratives and I got like 2 of them. But they are a nice thing to have in the collection, and so it's just really, for me, icing on the cake. Paul?
The last thing that Mateo said I really like. It's icing on the cake. I have also gone to quite a few games trying to chase after commemoratives, but I've only been successful when they're specific to the team a handful of times. So I have, for the most part, given up on chasing them, but today it seems like there's a pretty good opportunity, as like Mateo said, they're bringing them on the road. It's I think of commemoratives personally as just a way to spice up your collection. You get to keep something from someone else's team. They obviously commemorate a piece of history, so then you have that piece of history on your shelf, and when you see it, it just looks nice.
Okay, yeah, I guess here's a topic that I can actually talk about now. I'm surprised that the Astros keep using these commemoratives. They seem to like using commemoratives a lot. I'm really hoping I can snag one today. I have a plan to do it. Pat Neshek and I kind of talked at the hotel earlier today, and I'm pretty sure he's going to book me up. Yeah, so hoping I can get a commemorative. I got 3 different kinds last year. The Futures game, the Australia ball that the Dodgers brought back to Minnesota, and then the Wrigley ball when I went to Wrigley Field. So now they're opening up the gates but not letting us in, so I'm going to hand this back to Tony.
Cool. Lastly, just wanted to bring up the early Ball Hawk of the Year talk. I think mine right now, you got to respect what Zach has done. Game home runs, he's kind of averaging at least 1 a month, and I think he had a big one. I'm not too sure. Some guy with a big milestone, I don't know. It sounds like it was kind of a big deal. I don't know. Maybe.
Who actually can't see past Tony's sarcasm, Zach Hampel caught A-Rod's 3,000th hit, which happened to be a home run. Basically gave it back to the Yankees for $150,000 donation to his charity pitching for baseball as well as many other perks, it was kind of a big deal. Okay, Tony.
Yes, and then I mean, a guy who's always seeming to go for either second place or even fight for the top, Eric Jabs. He always gets it done. And then the one that I really like and have liked for the last couple of years, Greg Barish. He's insane.
Averaging almost 15 baseballs
yes,
per game.
14 point something baseballs a game. I mean, even if he doesn't keep that up, he's still probably going to get double digits overall for the year as an average, and that's just unreal. I mean, he goes to less games, which, I mean, everyone has a different schedule, and I just got to respect the amount that he puts in when he actually does go to the games.
I will say, however, even though he won't be really in the Ball Hawk of the Year discussion because there are so many great people in front of him, Greg is averaging almost 15 baseballs per game, but Max Van, I believe it's Holenbeck, it's pronounced, is averaging 9.8 something baseballs per game, which a year ago today would be the record for my game balls all time, because before last year when Greg averaged double digits, the record was Zach Hampel in 2010, I believe, with 9.5 baseballs per game. So Max will probably be lost in the discussion by the end of the year just because there have been so many great ball hawking seasons. But he's been doing what Greg has been doing at a lesser scale, but he's just been tearing it up. So.
Nate?
Yeah, Greg Barish is doing really good. Like, he's averaging 15 balls a game, Mateo?
Just under.
Right? Just under
like
15.
14.32.
Which is nothing compared to my 5.56. Not really, but yeah, he's doing really good. There's a lot of. Okay, I have no clue what I'm trying to say. Okay, here we go. Greg Barish, yeah, he's doing really good, and especially at some tough stadiums like Yankee Stadium, Citi Field. Yeah, he's like one of the best ball hawks out there. Like, he's getting a lot more than Zach Hampel, even though Hampel's getting a lot more famous than him, snagging A-Rod's 3,000th hit. And he just snagged a home run, I think, a few days ago. Made a nice leaping catch. The announcers are always talking about him whenever he catches one now. So, yeah, it's pretty tough. Paul, do you have anything to say?
Do postseason stats count on my game balls? My 2 cents here is that we have just over a month left to go in the MLB season, and then there's, of course, the playoff race after that. So I would say for the top 3 or 4 contestants for my game balls, the yearly award, they just need to stay consistent and then make sure they can keep going to games and hold their spots up there, because it's going to get tough in this last month.
Sweet, so we're getting close to the end of the show, and I just wanted to remind the Ball Hawks here at Target Field that Greg will actually be coming to town in the middle of September, so that's good news for us. We'll be able to see if maybe he can break Zach's record here of 13 in one game. We'll see. I think that if he keeps it up, he definitely has a chance. I mean, he's going at 15. So, yes, and like Mateo says, there's some people that are not on the website on mygameballs.com that have higher totals, but from what we can see, it's 13 from Zach. And I think that's going to be it for the show. This show is not brought to you by Go Max Go Foods candy bars. They are vegan versions of candy bars that you love, only cruelty-free. I say that it's not brought to you by them because I just had one, and actually they are wonderful. They have a Butterfingers one that I had, as well as a Milky Way, and they are fantastic. And they're going to be at TC Veg Fest, which I probably will see Mateo at this year.
Is that end of September this year?
So I think it's November this year.
Okay.
They pushed it back. So meet us at the gates. Normally gate 34 if we're at Target Field, and we will see you tomorrow. We'll be discussing kind of what happened today, and Nate wants to say one thing before we leave.
This isn't Ball Hawk Talk.
This is not Ball Hawk Talk.
No, it is not. Signing off.
Thank you, and have a very pleasant day.